first person rotating, it's much easier for the reader to forget which POV they're reading, especially if each character's narrative voice isn't distinct. Hello fellow fic writers, kudos for clicking on this video. My name is Cora Maria and I'm here to help you write and post your dream fanfiction. Just in case you missed the title, this video is part 2 of a duology about point of view. If you're looking for a definition or just want to know about the 3 types of third-person POV, then check out my last video. Link is in the description. If you've already seen it and you're feeling ready to launch into the ever-controversial first and second-person POV styles, then watch on, dear viewer. Watch on. Chapter 4, First Person. Truly an overhated icon. First person POV is when the narrator themselves is a character in the story. It's almost always a form of limited POV, since everything must be through the narrator's eyes. Unfortunately, this style is also stigmatized within the fanfiction community, and I've seen many readers say they nope the hell out of a story as soon as they see a feral letter I outside of its quotation marks enclosure. All is not lost though, first person fans. I've heard that first person is more common on Wattpad and better received. In this chapter, I'll do my best to make a case for this POV style, but at the same time, I also want to be honest about the shortcomings and why so many people avoid it. What is first person ideal for? If you're good at writing it, then you can channel a really unique voice and style that is 100% true to the main character. This creates a super immersive story, as you get to experience everything exactly how the character does. If you're a fan of unreliable narration too, this is the perfect POV in which to do it. For the self-insert fans, there is no better POV for you. And I mean that in the best way. If you want to write as yourself in your own voice, then this is absolutely the POV for you. What is first person not so good for? If you struggle with varied sentence structure, then first person will make that more apparent. With third person, it's easier to hide it because you can switch between referring to the POV character by their name, their pronouns, or even an epitaph sometimes. In first person, you cannot do that. If the first word of that sentence is referring to the POV character, that word can't be anything other than I. On the other hand, perhaps writing in first person could help you notice this flaw in your own writing. Once you master this major vice in first person, you'll know how to write even better third person. It's like how learning to drive manual can teach you to be a better driver overall. I mentioned that this POV is great for self-insert stories, but if that's not what you're going for, then you might find yourself slipping into self-insert territory anyway. If your protagonist is a character who is already fleshed out in canon, your voice could overshadow theirs. And then you might have readers growing frustrated because their beloved Blorbo feels out of character. Want to write in rotating POV? That is better done in third person. Never first. The reason why is because in first person rotating, it's much easier for the reader to forget which POV they're reading, especially if each character's narrative voice isn't distinct. This was one reason why Allegiant by Veronica Roth was such a tedious book for me to read. I kept forgetting if I was in Triss or Tobias's POV. And I was on Kindle too! So it was harder for me to go back and check without losing my spot. Now, imagine doing that while scrolling through your browser window on mobile! How do you write first person well? Unfortunately, I feel a bit underqualified to answer this question as I haven't written all that much in first person myself. Just a 40k fic way back in high school that wasn't very good and I have since deleted. I've linked a few resources in the description that explain this better than I can, and I hope they help. Chapter 5. Second person POV. This is an interesting POV style because it actively makes the reader a character in the story. If you're new to fanfiction, you might know this POV style from those choose your own adventure books, but it's actually quite a common POV style in the world of fanfiction. It's a favourite of readers and writers who focus on wish fulfillment, but there are other applications for second person POV too. What is second person ideal for? Are you a horror writer? This could give your story that extra fright. It can feel more impactful to the reader when they become the hapless victim of the plot. This is also a really niche application, but perhaps you want to write from the POV of a silent video game protagonist. For example, Link from the Legend of Zelda series. These characters are often designed to be a blank canvas that the player projects onto, and second person POV can be a great way to adapt that function into fanfiction form. And of course, the most common application of second POV is the reader insert story. These are stories where the reader is able to insert themselves into the narrative, usually as part of some romantic fantasy in which they pair themselves with a canon character. If that's your kind of self-indulgence, then give second person a go. What is second person POV not so good for? If you want to have a POV character who is fleshed out and has a lot of agency, then you might find yourself butting heads with second person POV a lot. This is because in order to make reader inserts broadly relatable, they usually have to have as little agency and characterization as possible. The less they do, the less likely they are to do something that the reader personally considers out of character. How do you write second person well? Again, because this is a POV style I haven't written myself, I don't feel qualified to give advice here, so instead I've once again linked some resources in the description. One point I do want to bring up is that reader inserts have a tendency to treat being white, abled, thin, and cisgender, and a woman as the default. There's nothing wrong with writing a reader insert with those traits as long as you take some time to consider that reader insert fans come in all shapes, sizes, races, genders, and more. I recommend you read Stitch's great article on YN reader insert fanfiction and writing yourself into the story to get more of an intersectional perspective on this trope and POV style, especially in regards to race. While we are all in fandom to have fun, we should consider how we can all make our fandom spaces as inclusive as we can. Maybe that means writing a reader insert that makes you feel seen, or maybe that means editing out any mentions of gender, skin color, and hair texture so that a black non-binary reader feels like they can be the main character of your story too. So now that we've covered all the major POV types in fanfiction, I'd love to know which one is your favorite. Have these videos helped you decide which POV you'd like to write your next story in? Let me know in the comments below. And that's the end of the video. Kudos for watching, kudos for liking, and extra kudos if you've subscribed and hit the bell for more dreamy fanfiction tips. Next time, I'll be sharing the strategy behind maintaining a consistent update schedule. But in the meantime, happy fic writing!